Hello, everybody. Valentin Todorow familiar here. On today's PTF session, we're going to look at navigation and the various ways you can navigate to a component in today's fluid environments. Okay, so what we're going to do first is let's record a couple of tests so we can see what the recorder spits out as a script, and then we're going to manipulate it a couple of different ways and show you all the nuances to how you can get to a component after you've signed into a PA page. So first thing we're going to do, this is just out of the box PTF. We're going to initialize the recorder at the top, which initializes the Chrome extension floating window. In here, you'll have your PA environment, which is coming from your runtime execution options. We're going to click on the house to open up our PA sign-in page, and then we're going to start recording. So you got to make sure you press the record one more time after the initialization of the PA sign-on page. And when you see that PTF is recording oval at the bottom, that means it's capturing. So what I'm going to do is do a general login here to this environment with my very secure VP1 login. Once I've come in here, I'm going to do one of the most common ways to get to a component, which is using the NAV BAR navigation. So we're going to click here at the NAV BAR on the side. We're going to go to, let's actually do a menu that's a little deeper in here. We're going to go to purchasing, purchase orders, reports, and I think we did status listings once. We're going to do status listing again. Okay, so we've come into a component, and that's one navigation method. Okay, I'm going to wait till it loads. I'll do something on this page. Maybe I'll search PTF and search. Okay, now what does this give us? So we've navigated. I'm not going to do anything within the component further than this because we're just focusing on the navigation piece of PTF. What we'll do now, obviously PTF records on the extension. When you press the stop button here, you see the stop recording button here, it actually will give you the script within the PTF script editor. Okay, and at this point, you can actually close out the little recording window. Okay, and let me actually go back to PTF real quick. There it is. So what it did is it started us. These are the steps it recorded from 2 to 15. Okay, so it captured the user we use. So this is the user ID, the password, and the submit button. Okay, it then captured me clicking on the link, which is the top right nav bar link. It focused on that region. So these browser frame sets focus on the new region, be it a modal region. If it's a work center, you're focusing on the right or left, and you have to use these frame sets to focus on these floating regions that you've initialized. Okay, so we're focusing on that, and then here is just a collection of clicking on links that gets you to that specific component, right? And here we're focusing on the component itself, and then within the component search page, we're setting the PTF and clicking the search button. Okay, now one thing to note, and you probably see it already, is these three were inactivated. And why are these three inactivated? Well, that is because we're using this browser start login command. So this is a little independent of the navigation topic, but the browser start login is a collection of these three steps, effectively starting the browser, doing the username and password, but they're all rolled up into one, into the start login. And that start login is using the runtime options user that's specified right here. Okay, and PTF knows, okay, if you have this step, you don't need 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's already baked into this. So it's like further efficiency that it has, and it inactivates those steps for you automatically. Okay, this is actually a configurable option within PTF. If you go into your PTF environment, go to People Tools, Lifecycle Tools, Test Framework, configuration options, you can actually make it so it starts as browser start. Okay, and that's actually my preferred method, is to actually use the browser start and have these enabled. And the reason for that is I like to control my user that I'm simulating my PTF test on the script itself, because then I can actually start manipulating this user as part of the test, because I want to simulate different people running the specific process or different requesters going to a creator requisition. So I like the actual user control on the script level. Whereas if you have kind of a global profile, and you can have profiles here with different people, but if you're trying to simulate lots and lots of different users, these profiles will become pretty large and extensive. So And I don't like to do that. I like the flexibility of having it in the value column, because then I can source it from a query if I wanted to. I can control it through the test cases and import new ones through Excel if I wanted to. So it just gives you more flexibility. So I'll actually disable that browser start login, which is part of those configuration options I talked to you about, which is in that lifecycle tools menu, so that it just has browser start as a default. And then these won't be unchecked. Okay. So that's kind of the first piece. The next piece has to do with this navigation. So right now the navigation is very static. It's going to click on the 6th menu item, the 19th menu item, and the 14th menu item, because it starts at 0 as the first one. Okay. And that is not a good way to record these scripts. This actually has to be a scroll handling feature, because VP1 user has, yes, this menu on that location, the second layer of that menu on that location. But if you try to simulate VP2, VP2 might have a totally different security, and their nav bar collections will be in a totally different order, right? So you can't just record like that out of the box and think that this will work with whatever user you put into that test, okay? You actually have to create a system where it parses that list and finds people tools, or finds purchase orders, reporting, okay? And that method is actually using scroll handling. I cover that in a separate video. We can quickly do that on just one of the levels. So we can actually take one of these and we'll make this a scroll, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna insert 2 rows, and actually I'm gonna do a scroll key set. And again, I cover this in a separate video action. What I'm going to look for is the menu item field, which is just a collection of links. Okay. I'm not going to have $5 because that makes it static. Okay. I know that these are links. Okay. So that's the object type. And I'm looking for a specific value in here, purchasing. Okay. I'm actually going to disable that. I'm going to keep it in there. The action, again, scroll handling are 2 rows that get tied together. So I'm going to look for purchasing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to retain that absolute location in a variable called location. Okay. And what I'm going to do in this is use select. And I did this kind of freehand, but there is a recording step. Again, just watch our other videos that shows you how this works. And then what I'm going to do is wherever it finds that specific link, I'm going to do a link click. Okay. And I'm actually going to take this and prefix it in front of the variable. Okay. So, and you want to do this to each of those levels of your nav bar. Okay. I've only done it and shown you purchasing, but you want to do it for purchasing, for reports, and then for that specific component name, which is status listings in this situation. Okay. This makes it dynamic. So no matter, obviously, the first of all, the user has to have security to that menu and component, but this makes it dynamic, so you can feed it a list of users that are maybe all have access to purchasing and running that process, but they'll have reporting on a different level, the actual status listings on a different level, and this makes it kind of dynamic if you are using the nav bar to traverse and navigate to that specific component. Okay. So that's kind of one way to navigate. Now, if you're using the same person, then you could have definitely kept these $18, 3, and 5 as a default, and you never changed the person. Hopefully that user never has the security changed, right? So you want to make these tests more and more dynamic, so they're not failing as part of your normal update process with PeopleSoft. So this kind of makes it more dynamic in the future and gives you the flexibility to change different users. Okay. So I've shown you this method. Now, another method is to go directly to that page. Like, I don't care about the nav bar or how the structure works or the tiles. I'm trying to do a regression test. I'm trying to test the functionality of that component. So all I care about is going to that component search page and doing something with it. Well, we can do that. So after the submit page, maybe we don't want to do any of this nav bar navigation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just delete this out of here. Okay, so I'm going to delete. And what I'm going to be left with is we're going to maintain our sign-in, because we have to sign into PeopleSoft. And then I'm going to maintain what I did within the component search page, focusing on the page. That's what this target content that focuses on the body of the page, clicking into the run control ID field, setting the value of PTF, and clicking the search button. So I'm going to keep that. but I need to get there. If I just ran this right now, let's just run it. We're not in that component. We're just going to be still on the main landing page, that home page with the tiles, and we're going to get a bunch of red errors that, those subsequent steps were not found. You can kind of see it here. Actually, I don't think VP2 is password, so it's not even going to get farther than this. I've changed it back to VP1. But what we can do is we can target that component directly, okay? And the way we do that, as part of the recording, you could do it, but I'm going to do it kind of freehand here. So right after the submit, we're going to insert a step, okay? And what we're going to do here is we're going to prompt right to that component. So we're going to do a page prompt, okay? And what we're going to do after the page prompt is we're going to actually specify what the menu, the component name, the menu, the component, the market is, okay? And there's a couple ways to do it if you still have the page open, which I don't have anymore. It's up at the top of the URL, but you can also grab it from any of the fields that are in here. So PTF stores, obviously, step information. And one of the things, if you click on any of the fields that are within that component and then click on step information, it's going to tell you what menu it sits on. So I'm going to actually copy this menu out of here. I'm going to paste it in the prompt. I want to go to that menu. I'm going to click on that step again and click on step information. I also want to know the component and the market, which is the global GBL. But I'm also going to copy component here. And the syntax says menu.component.market, which is GBL. All right. So I've told it, okay, after you've signed in, go right to that component search page, focus on it, and then do something. But we haven't told it what to do in that component. Like, am I adding a value? I'm updating an existing one. Am I in correct history mode? Right? You need to specify that. And you can do this here. You can just type in update, or you can kind of double click and use the little helper wizard and say, okay, I want to update. Update is like the search, the general search, right? You also have, if you want to be in correct history mode, or if you want to click the add button and add a new run control in there, but we're just doing update, okay? So now what we do, and I've changed it to VP1, is we're going to play this test, and it should jump us after the sign in right to that component, okay, component search page. So it's going to save here, and it's going to initialize the browser. It's this time I'm going to actually log in because I put VP1 as a user. Okay. Signed in, and now look at the URL here at the top. Right now we're at the main landing page. It's going to change the URL at the top right to that component. So we've used a direct method to get into this component. We've bypassed all kinds of tiles, nav bars. We've jumped right there, and we're done with our test. And you can see here that it did the action and jumped to this component as part of the page prompt, and then it continued on with PTF as the run control ID and doing the search button, okay? So that's kind of the second method to navigate to these pages. And of course, the third method is if you want to go through the tiles themselves, okay? And what we could do, let's do just another recording so you can see what the tiles look like. I'm actually going to purge everything out of here so we can do from scratch recording, okay? We're again going to initialize a recorder at the top. I've closed down the Chrome window where that recorder was, so I have to initialize a new one. Okay, so this launches it and it hooks onto it. And again, you want to press record one more time so it's capturing. And now you want to capture. So I'm going to this time go through the tiles. Okay, so I've logged in here. And now I will go through, and you can change the home pages as well. So maybe I don't want to be an update manager. I want to be an employee self-service. So I'm going to click on employee self-service. And then I want to go to e-procurement, right? And I want to create a requisition. So I've traversed the home page and 2 tile levels to get to my fluid component here in a second, okay? And this has a different structure and different type of navigation, but you can, again, use the page prompt. You'll see here in a second, this has changed, and now we're actually in this specific component. So we can use a direct method, but I'm kind of showing you now how to use the tiles. And the tiles are going to be very similar to the nav bar. They follow the same scroll handling mechanism. So I'm going to stop after the recording so we can have our script within PTF. And you'll see it follows the same method. We have $8, so that tile was the 8th one on the list. It's kind of crazy numbering system actually behind the scene. And then create requisition was tile 0, the first one on that secondary level of a page, okay? And we're clicking on those spans, but you have to do the same kind of methodology. If you want to make these dynamic so you can feed to different users, instead of just it statically clicking on 8, right? Because people will have different self-service tiles, right? It will not, purchasing will not be the 8th one on that list. So what we want to do is, again, incorporate some of that scroll logic in the system. So we want to do a scroll. We want to say, hey, we're looking for a specific value, and we want to search for that. So let's go back and I can kind of show you how that's set up real quick. All right, we're going to go home. I'm actually just going to do it in employee self-service. So here, e-procurement. So what I want to do actually is I'm going to inspect the page. Okay. So you right click and inspect. We're in Chrome, of course. This gives you the DOM object, the Explorer at the bottom. And what we're looking for now is this little targeting tool right here at the bottom. And we want to look for the name because we're looking actually for this name that holds e-procurement, because that's what we're searching for. We're searching for e-procurement as part of these IDs. And if you look at the other IDs, like approval is going to be at $7, expenses will be $9. Okay, so they have all different $ dynamic key indexes. So I'm going to grab this. This is the span I'm going to be scrolling. Okay, we're going to go to our PTF test, and now I'm going to set up the scroll. Okay, and again, it's a two-step process. You do scroll. Give it some kind of ID like 88. It can be just a number from 1 to 1,000. You set a key and an action. The field you're looking for. So I'm looking for this recognition without the $8. Okay. This is going to be a span field because that's just a presented field. And I'm looking for e-procurement. Okay. Okay. I'm going to retain it by doing a select, and I'm going to retain it in a variable called &LOC. Okay, and instead of now clicking on it statically as $8, I'm going to remove the $8 and put in &LOC. Okay, because I haven't turned off the configuration here, I can re-enable that. And now when I play this back, after it clicks on e-procurement, it's going to search for the next level. Actually, I should have done that one level up. Should have been e-procurement and then clicking on create requisition. Okay, but that's how you want to do it. Okay, to make it as dynamic as possible. If you're using nav bars or tiles, you want to inject scroll handling to make these behaviors simple. If you're only trying and caring about the functional testing and making sure these components work, first of all, then actually grab either using the method where we did the step status, kind of the metadata, and grabbing the menu.component.market, or again, after you've gone to a specific page, you'll see here, this is the actual menu.component.market, and just using the direct method to navigate to a specific page, okay? And then, of course, the direct method involves keeping everything, sign-on page related, and then just doing that page prompt. So page prompt, menu.market, menu.component.market, and then update as the action, because here it's just going to be an update action. Okay, if you're not on a search page, you're on a page like this where you're listing your requisitions or create a new requisition, that's always going to be an update action type on a page prompt. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little glimpse of how navigation works. And usually you want to put these in a separate test because they might globally change. So you don't want the navigation to be part of the individual test itself. You want that to be a subtest that's happening kind of at the top, the header region, before you do the actual mechanics of the component. And because it will be a subtest that's called in all of your global tests, if there was any kind of global change, you can make it on that individual test, and then it doesn't impact any of the subsequent smaller component tests themselves. Okay. So it makes it kind of a little more scalable. And if there are global changes, like the home page changes in 862 or 863, or the nav button name, DOM object name changes, it's easy to manipulate an individual script that flows onto all of the subsequent scripts themselves. So hopefully that was a good example and showed you some ways to navigate to your component. So we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.